Good evening. My name is Liliana DiCiacco, a young member of this Leamington Roma Club. This year, 2011, we are celebrating our 50th anniversary. And as the year is coming to a close, I was wondering how it was that this idea began, the history behind this Italian legacy that was born in Leamington. So I realized that the best source, for my knowledge, is the first president, who was Gino DiMenna. So I have him here with me tonight. Hello, Gino.
Hi.
As we all know, bringing a concept to life involves many people, but the idea has to begin somewhere. So where did this concept of the Leamington Roma Club begin, and who were the original thinkers behind it?
In the late 50s, we had a carnival party at the Village Inn. And through the process of the party and so on, 4 or 5 of us got on the microphone, which one was Milvo Costanzo, myself, Tony Mastronardi, and Mario Policello, saying, should we try to form a club? Everybody said, yeah, everybody says, yeah. So, and a few weeks later, we had a meeting at Bert Mastronardi's warehouse on Oak Street. And quite a few people came out, which we explained again what we wanted to do and how we had to do it and so on and so forth. And then we asked them that everybody should put some kind of a deposit, which was $5 a piece. That was a day's work at that time.
So it's big money.
Yeah, that's right. So we gathered $150, and Emma Colasanda and her husband was there. We gave her the money to hang on to. And so time went by, and 1960s coming around, had come around, and nothing was happening. So again, we called another meeting. Emma and I kept talking what we're going to do with this money and so on. I better give it to somebody instead of me keeping it, for nothing is going to happen. So I was working in Heinz's at that time, and I started to talk to some of the boys, with the ideas and so on and so forth. So we called another meeting, and it was the 1st of May 1960 at the arena. And went there, and quite a few of the people showed up and so on and so forth. Young people, my age, we were 36, 37, even younger, and some older. Those people over there really were behind it right there. They're the ones of the Italian community. So they told us at the meeting, let's do something, and they appointed 7 people. I was one of them. Gus Moore was the other one. Oli Mastronardi, Mario Mastronardi, Sam Peralta, and Natalino Palazzi. There was 7 of us.
So that was the original board of directors.
They appointed. It really was. They were not elected. They were appointed. They were appointed.
Right.
Yeah. So and then we got advice that we had to see a lawyer and so on, and we got Edgar Dick. As I said, Tom Odette. We started with Tom Odette, and he said, "Well, you got to get a charter." So, but because he was living in Tilbury, we wanted a local man because if we used to have meetings at night,
right.
and the guy was right next door, and he'd come. So we got Edgar Dick, and so he says, "Well, we have to make an application for the charter," which we did. He filled all the papers and so on, and sent the 7 names in. Who we were, and the reply came back. We were refused.
Why was that?
Well, we didn't know that. We didn't know that. All things were going in our mind. Maybe somebody doesn't want us to do it, or this and that and the other. So, but Edgar Dick recommended this. We had an MPP in Amherstburg by Bill Murdoch. And he says, you got to go see him. And I made the comment to Edgar Dick, yeah, but we're liberals. And Edgar Dick was a liberal too, as far as that goes. He's a conservative. No. He says, you're going to ask him and see what he says. And so I went to see him. And I said, Mr. Murdoch, this is what we happened. We've done this. And we got rejected. Well, he says, Mr. DiMenna says to me, give me 2 weeks time and I'll find out. So in 2 weeks' time, he called me back, and he says, one fellow's got a record, and another one is not a Canadian citizen. So, you know, what do we do now? The reply, and I didn't want to say leave those two guys out, and we replied, so I got 3 new people. And it was Aldo, Erco, Fred DeSantis, and Gus Morrow. And they made the application, and we got the charter. And then once we got the charter, we got to get the members.
Right.
And so we paired off 2 people to win all the people that we could cover. Some said yes, and some said no. But we got 132, 133 members at that time. When we had that, and everybody, then okay, now we got to look over a piece of ground where we can build and so on. And this here was for sale. We could not go outside of the town limits because they were dry at the time. You wouldn't.
What do you mean dry?
You wouldn't be able to get a license.
There's no alcohol allowed.
No. In the town of Leamington, yes, but on the outskirts, no. Which at that time was Mercier Township, and so we found this place. We had a general meeting. What we do, so on. Okay, let's buy it, and then we had to ask the members for $150 a piece. And the members got up at the general meeting and says, make sure that we're all even. Nobody gets away for nothing. Because, as I say, we worked for $5 a day at that time and $6 an ounces, you know. And that was hard to go. People, you know.
So who owned this property?
Sherman. He was the mayor of the town for a while. And then they owned the warehouse back there, and they owned this property. And so, but they want to sell it because they didn't have money even to pay the taxes, really.
Right. And how much did it cost to purchase this land?
$16,000.
$16,000. That's a lot of money.
It was a lot of money, but we were able to do it. And then after that, well, the membership, we got eager. We got to build, and we had to make a decision of what we build, just for the Italian community, or for the community at large, you know. And we called an architect, what kind of idea he had, and what he with this plan, you know, came up with that.
Right.
And he told us, now, if you build, this is covered. Otherwise, you owe me $5,000. Okay, now I would. Anyway, there was pros and cons at the general meeting, and Bruno Matassa was there, and he was in construction then himself for his own business. And he says, look, he says, if we're going to build something, let's build something that we're proud of. You know, like the Italians are. You know,
that's right. A lot of pride.
Like the Italians are, and we built something for ourselves and the community. So the membership approved. All right, so let's start to work on it. And we told the architect, we'll collect some money and then you go to work. And then we did. Another $500 a piece. And we got the money.
Did you have to go to a bank?
Huh?
Did you go to a bank?
No bank. Members' money.
Members' money.
Members' money.
What made these new immigrants, they were up to here in debt, what made them give you this money?
Well, they just, like, we didn't have no place else to go.
So there was a need?
There was a need for it. Because we used to go to these weddings, and the Rose Garden in particular, we used to go to these weddings, and our kids are running up and back and forth. And you know, no control, which was our fault, that's for sure. And he says, I don't want you guys here back again. So we had to do something. And so the architect made the plans, and we started going. Before we built, we sent the bids out. And when the bids come back in, the cheapest one, that's Matassa, he was in construction, he bid on it too. People from Windsor bid on it, you know. And there were 150, 155, 56,000. Matassa was 148. Now this one builder in Windsor didn't have a chance to look at the plan. And he called us up and he says, I can build this. I didn't have a chance to do it. I looked at it. And he says, I can build that for $133,000. So I had Dominic McCree, head of the building committee, and he says, it's not ethical, which he was right. He wasn't wrong. And also the architect told us the same thing. But what do we do? There's a $13,000-14,000 difference here.
It's a big difference.
It's a big difference. And so he says, well, we saw that we're going to rebid again. The price is too high, so on. But this guy was behind the door already because
Right.
132, we couldn't get a better deal than that.
Right.
So we went ahead and he started in building. We gave him we had the $500 a piece, 133 members, you know, and we knew at the time that we were not going to have enough money, not enough money to pay the whole thing. We figured we'd go to a finance company, which was recommended to us, these people in London, and the representative of that company came from London, and we met him right here, Mary Grad and I. And he looked at the building, he liked what he saw. Oh yeah, we'll give you the money for this. Well, how much interest? We had to ask that.
Sure.
And he says 8%. But then he asked us, how much can you pay a month? And we couldn't tell him.
You had no idea.
We didn't have no idea because we never had party, nothing. We didn't know. But he says, so I says to him, well, we'll have another general meeting and we ask the members to see what they say. So okay, we had a meeting, and my cousin Mike on the town line, DiMenna, he heard the story. We all heard, and so on and so forth. The way I explained it. Well, what the heck? What the heck? He says, let's put another $500 a piece. So we did. So everybody, first they were very quiet, and all of a sudden, let's go ahead and put. It's okay.
So the total was that?
That was a total.
1,150.
That's right. That was a total, and it was all members' money.
Right.
No bank money.
Right.
No. Once the business started, we had a credit at the bank of a $36,000 operating money. That was it.
Right.
And to go in and go out like any business does.
Right.
That's what we did. But I want to make another point. In 1961, in March 1961, we had the first election. And then we were elected on the board, not appointed.
And were you president again?
Yeah, at that time I was
Right.
president. Yeah, at that time, and I made the recommendation to the assembly that because we had three regions here, we had La Chucharia, we had Abruzzo Molise, and we had the Sicilians, and to make sure that all three of them are represented, and it worked.
Perfect.
Because everybody would convince their own people,
That's right.
and it worked.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we started the business. We hired this guy from the Elmwood, who was recommended to us for 6 months as a manager, and it did not work out, and so we had to let him go. And then we got Joe DeSantis, and still we didn't have no manager. And me and the other guy, Cervini, John Bernardo, Oli Mastinardi, Frank Morrow, were on the board. And we got business at home. What do we do? You know, we need a manager. So with pros and cons in that office over there, we talk back and forth, what do we do, so on. So Joe, the man, was a cook. He was a good cook. We said, well, let's ask him if he wants to be the manager. So we asked him. And he says, I never was a manager of thing like this before, I don't know. So he says, but he says, I'll ask my wife if she help me. We'll try it, we'll take it on. So he went and told his wife, and he told her a week later we had the meeting on the board, and he came in, well, this is what my wife says that she will help, okay. Look after the thing. But the first year we lost money. $10,000. The second year we lost money, and this is 65 and 66. Nobody knew here. They know
Right.
this was something new, and we needed the community to help us.
Right.
You know, because the community really, the Italians and the community paid for it, not just the Italians.
That's right.
Because they came and they liked what they saw and so on, and they kept coming. But then, as I said, because in 2 years we lost $20,000. People got edgy. Where we're going, in a way, you can't blame them.
They got scared.
Yeah, they got scared. You can't blame them.
Yeah.
See, and from then on, well, it went on for 10 years like that. They called people to help for nothing, to wash dishes. I still hear it today. People say, hey.
I hear from your daughter too.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. They did. And the thing is that you couldn't keep going with that. You couldn't do it. So in '78, Gino became president, and he said, this has got to be changed. Because when somebody comes to work for you and you pay them, they got to do what you tell them.
Right.
The other way they don't.
Right.
You know, they say, hey, I'm doing you a favor. You know, and this was going on, as you can do. But anyway, from then on, things started to change. We started to make money, and in the '80s, we made good money. You know, we made good money.
Right.
And in the '90s, Ivana, when she was a manager, she watched every penny we spent. She knew what was going on in the community because she was here every day. She used to come into the board and tell us this, and we acted accordingly. Right. Because you have to please people. If there's a problem, we have to try to solve it.
That's right.
Which we did. And
I remember Ivana. Her and Aldo lived here.
yeah, that's true. Oh, that's true.
We spent many hours here.
That's true. But then she got sick in '92, '93, and she had been here 12, 13 years. I went out, you know, and then these people come in, and the board, for some reason, they want to be the boss, and you can't do it. Even today, you cannot do it. You need somebody ahead that runs the show.
Right.
Otherwise, it won't work, because in there is a lot of ideas.
Right.
Everybody's got their own idea, and this way.
And a lot of pride.
Yeah, that's true. A lot of pride. That's true.
And that pride gets in the way sometimes.
Yeah, very much so. Very much so.
We won't focus on that though.
No.
So, do you remember who had the first party here?
Mm-hmm.
Who was that?
Joe Testa and his wife. She was a Peralta, and Joe Testa had the first wedding here.
Do you remember how much it cost for a meal?
About $4 or $5, approximately.
We can't even get pasta for that now. So it's almost 2012. What are your overall thoughts and vision for the future of this legacy that was built over 50 years ago?
Well, I would like to see the thing go on for another 50 years or more. But the younger generation has to take over. We cannot do it anymore. I went through the list the other day with that, which we had 174 members, you know, by the time we finished building. Founding members, because in 1970 we cut it off. Any money that they brought in was board money,
right,
and you had to pay it back.
Right.
In fact, $150 is still here. It's still board money.
Right.
And if we want to demand it, we could, but nobody's doing it. Nobody's doing it. And so, but today, the way we are, the new generation has to take over, because we run out of ideas. It's a new world.
That's right.
And if we don't, we're in trouble, because things don't meet properly, so on and so forth. We got people because good people. We got good people in our midst, smart people. But because there's a problem, there's a friction, so on, they don't want to get involved. But if we want to keep it, they got to get involved.
That's right.
Otherwise we're in trouble.
That's right. So hopefully they'll take your advice.
I hope so.
And get involved.
I hope so.
So Gino, I wanted to thank you. It's a great gift that you have this memory, that you can tell this story to us in your own words, because I wasn't here 50 years ago,
yeah,
and many of the people that are listening weren't here 50 years ago.
That's right.
So it's very important that we have this heritage, this legacy that we call the Leamington Roma Club.
Right.
And I want to thank, from the bottom of my heart, you and the 170 founding members that found the money. $1,150.
Today, right, yeah.
You found that money, you were struggling, you were new in this country,
Mm-hmm.
but you knew it was important.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope that my generation realizes that importance, so that this legacy will live on for our children and for our grandchildren many years to come. So thank you.
Thank you.